And Mr. Becker, would you give the invocation for us, please?
Our gracious Heavenly Father, let us thank you for this gorgeous day and this fall-like weather, and thank you for allowing us to be your servants and come before you and do the people's work. And you bless each and every one here and give them traveling grace as they leave the meetings today, and put a loving hand on our soldiers overseas that will protect them and bring them back to us. Guide and direct each of us to do the best that we possibly can. In your name we pray.
Amen. Thank you. I want to welcome everybody out this morning. I don't see any strange faces in the audience, so we'll just proceed on with the agenda. And Shelley, would you do the roll call, please?
Harley Buzzard.
Here.
Chris Pope.
Present.
Bill England.
Here.
Bill John Baker.
Here.
Jack Baker.
Here.
Julia Coates. Bradley Cobb. Joe Crittenden.
Here.
Jody Fishingham. Here. Meredith Fraley. Janelle Fulbright. Don Garvin. Tana Glory Jordan. Curtis Snell.
Here.
David Thornton. Kara Cowan Watts. Oh, honey, we do have a forum.
Thank you, Shelley. Looking at the next item of the agenda is approval of the minutes. We have a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Motion's been made and second. All approved, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Next, we'll just move right into reports. It looks like we have a rather short agenda today, so Norman, would you want to come forward and give us the highlights, or give us any announcements, or if anybody's had any questions, I'd like for them to be able to ask. Thank you.
Mine's going to be short. I will just defer to the report that I sent to see if anyone has any questions. I can't think of any major out-of-the-ordinary events that we have going on, just lots of work as usual. I will tell you that we have tentative dates scheduled for LIHEAP, but we haven't received our award letter as yet, so we don't know what our funding is going to be at this time. But if we get it, which we feel sure that we will, we're going to start the applications for the elder and disabled on November 5th. Write that in pencil. I'll try to give you more when we know for sure. And then we would start for the other households on December the 1st. But again, I'd put that in pencil for right now. I suspect with what's going on financially, we may be getting things late. I don't know. It's a guess.
Norma, would you just give us a quick overview, and you may have done it last month, on this Bright Futures program. What
Sure.
is that about?
Bright Futures is a program that's funded with tribal funds through an SBC grant. It is a truancy prevention program. It is for Adair County only at this time. There will be three FTEs, one court advocate, two school advocates. We have the court advocate in place, who is J.R. Clappin, who is with the Healing to Wellness Court. J.R. is from Adair County, so he's located there. We have not been able to start yet. We had anticipated 10/1 was when our funding started, but we have had difficulty hiring the other two positions. We have one in place. We're asking for another panel for the second school advocate. What these folks will be doing is working with the schools in Adair County as they identify folks who are showing signs of truant behaviors. We're going to try to, they will be calling us to go out, speak with the families, encourage them, try to find out what the cause of the truancy is, see if we can assist them in correcting that behavior, and trying to educate them about what that truancy can lead to, and the benefits of getting back in school, and also letting them know about the legal repercussions. Judge Brown is very involved, very supportive. Larry Langley from the DA's office. Again, there is a team, and I might just throw this out because I think it's very refreshing. The schools in Adair County, with the exception of probably 2 or 3, have come together around this issue of truancy. And what they said, not I said, but I heard them say this in the meeting I attended, is this is the first thing the schools have ever really rallied around together to address together. And they feel like it may bring all the school systems together to just work better for the citizens. So we hope it'll be very successful. They put together a process, and we are a part of that, and we'll be serving the Cherokee citizens that they refer to us.
Well, I think it sounds like a good program, and we'd like to have the report on it at some point in time, what success you have on it. Because
Be glad
I think it
to.
was sorely needed, probably. I don't know if Adair County needs worse than Delaware County, but it's a good.
Well, actually, the vision is right now that if we are successful in Adair County, then we'll go back to the table, and Delaware is the next place to target. We're talking in those places that have the greatest, everybody has truancy problems, but some that are the greatest statistically that we can prove. JR, as the court advocate, will be working with those families who have already been referred to the court. So although this is a prevention, it's also, kind of a rehabilitation for those families who are already in the court. It doesn't work real well to find them and do those things because frequently they don't have the funds. So,
Well, I think it's a good program.
well, we're
Thank you
looking
for that
forward to get the
report.
staff to get it started. It's difficult, when you can't find the people to staff it.
Yeah,
So-
that's true. Anybody have any questions? Mr. Baker?
Absolutely, Charlie.
I thought he was just waving.
Okay, I did too. Anybody have any more questions that they'd like to ask Norma? Well, thank you, Norma.
Thank
Good
you.
report. Next is Charlie So, Community Services.
What is my target marker big enough, Bill? Okay, here I am.
Good morning, Charlie.
Good morning.
We've got your report in here, but if there's anything that you've got coming up you'd like for us to be aware of, or any new thing that you may not have put in the report, I'd like to give you the opportunity to tell us about it. If not,
Actually, not really. What's on the report is pretty well covered here, and the water lines are Dale Hope is pretty near completion, and one of the problems we had there was we hit a lot of rock, and but we've I think pretty much gone through that now, and hopefully within the next, I would say the main lines will be done next couple of weeks. Next couple of weeks will be with the main line. So that's one of the projects that was sort of slow, but the people in that community worked on weekends only on Saturdays and Sundays, so that took a little time. But all the others are going pretty well. And then we've started. We're getting ready to start Bird Flat, and we have a meeting next week. We went in last night and organized the committees and the lead people, and then we're going to do a work schedule for the self-help project next week. And then so that was a good meeting last night. And Jackson Mountain, part of it's already done, but then the self-help portion is getting ready to kick in. And then Greer up in Mays County, it's starting. It started yesterday. Yeah, we started that yesterday, and so that's the project is going. Hopefully, that's from the reports that we hear, that's going to be a good project there. So, and housing is moving along pretty well, and as far as self-help, the ones that are going, that's in progress now. So, as far as any other thing, unless you all have any questions, that's all I have to say.
Charlie, this may be a good time to go ahead and ask the question to David here. On the MAP program, I understand that if a person applies for the MAP program, they don't qualify for the water and sanitation. And I understand that because probably the MAP program comes from your HUD or NAHASA funding. And you can't put water and sanitation services with those because it's a HUD-funded project. So I don't think it's treating some of those people fair that's in the MAP program, but we also understand that we have tribal funds to take up that slack in there. So are we using, I think we're using the tribal funds to put in water and sanitation for them. Am I saying that right?
Right. Yes, there are some, I would say, hopefully I can say, a minor problem there that we're working on. Actually, we've been meeting with the group, with Commerce and water and sanitation is trying to correct that issue. I know it's been a problem for some families. They'll go get the loan, they'll get a mortgage, and then there's a gap where they're not able to get the assistance they need with the water and sanitation. But that's the area where we're really trying to home in on and work on that. And I think that there's a solution, but we just really don't know at this point. We just haven't homed in on it and found a real solution on that. So I'm going to ask Billy Hicks to come up here and let him explain a little bit about what the problem is when we run into this situation about the mortgage and then water and sanitation issue here.
And you know, just before Billy talks there, you know, I kind of understand the situation and problem there, but I think that's where we put the $500,000 tribal fund to take care of people like that, because if they've got to use mortgage assistance funds to pay for water and sanitation, you know, it's not leaving them anything. They just can't do it. You know, you're looking at $8,000 to $10,000 for the sanitation system to put in there, so it's kind of defeating the purpose. But you know, that was the reason for the tribal funds to go in to help those people there. But Billy, go ahead and clear us up on it.
Well, you're absolutely right, Harley. When HUD funds are involved, we can't use any IHS funds for the water and sanitation, but we do have those tribal dollars. And a lot of this is based on my understanding that when the MAP program was originally set up, there was a meeting, and it was the intent that those $15,000, or I guess at that time it was $10,000, later increased to $15,000. That was intended to be used as for their utilities, including their water and sanitation. Now, before the program came over to Cherokee Nation, it's my understanding that was not being implemented as part of the policies and procedures, and was not being, it was not part of the counseling that the applicants were receiving. So what we have done, if anybody applied for that program before it came to Cherokee Nation, before they were given that advice, we're going to go ahead and serve those with the MAP funds. Now, like Charlie said, we're working on a proposal that I believe we're finalizing, going to send to administration, and one of the recommendations would be that MAP applicants would be eligible for water and sanitation funds, provided they are available, which those would be the tribal funds.
That sounds like a solution to me. It sounds like you've got it under control then. Anyway, I just want to bring that forward, Charlotte, to let the committee know that you are working on the problem with that the MAP program there. Yes, Ms.
So, am I hearing that y'all are in favor of figuring out a system where we can use the MAP assistance for the down payment and closing costs, and then we'll use our tribal dollars to make sure that they have water and sanitation at the site? Mm-hmm. And that you two will get together, I guess, with the other powers to be, and you all will figure out a way so that if we're putting a lot of them in mobile homes, mm-hmm. and they need all of the assistance, MAP assistance, just to get them into that mobile home. But you guys know as well as I do that they pull it onto a piece of raw land that doesn't have any infrastructure. Mm-hmm. But you're assuring us as a council, you're all going to get together and get this worked out, where these folks, which really are the poorest of the poor in our communities, are going to be serviced with both helping them get in a home and helping them have the proper infrastructure to use that new home properly. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I think Jody's probably been getting some phone calls about this, because I know we've been receiving those calls, and we had a meeting yesterday, and before what time was our meeting yesterday? About 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock this morning. And by the time I got back to the office yesterday, some of those recommendations were in place, and I received that email probably late yesterday afternoon before I went to the meeting at Bird's Flat. And reviewing that, it looked like everything was in according to what would be more helpful to the people. And water sanitation was included in that recommendation that we would get. So that was developed took place yesterday after our meeting. And so I know before we were getting a lot of calls, and when I say a lot, I'm saying about, I guess we'd received that 7 or 8 calls, and I don't know how many. I know you called earlier, Donna and Jody. You've been calling our department about this, and so based on some of those complaints, that's why we thought we needed to correct this issue, but it seems like that's on the right track at this point.
And I want to commend both of you all, because I know on the calls that I got, they fell into that niche that you were talking about.
Absolutely.
They had got the assistance and were under the impression that they would be able to get water and sanitation, and somehow they fell into a void. And you all were a great assistance in helping a family that we had them a new home, but they had no water and they had no sewer and they had no money. And they had kids in the home and another one on the way, and were working jobs that just were never going to sufficiently bring them to where they could put back enough to get that water and sanitation. The house would have been ruined by the time that they would have been able to put back or save enough with 4 kids. That just, minimum wage jobs, that's just not going to happen, that they can save, $5,000 or $6,000 to make that happen properly. And I want to commend your department for what you all did.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think that's one area that we really need to look at is the delay in terms of when they get the MAP, the mortgage, and then the Billy and are working on it, or we are working on it as a committee, because there is still that little gap. It creates a time problem for when they get their loan, and then when Billy's group can come in. There's some legal stuff that we've got to work out. That's what's taking place at this time. Instead of people having to sit out there 6 months trying to get the septic in places out, we're trying to close that gap.
Well, I know the folks that I've been involved with are certainly appreciative. This is the only way they would have ever got any sort of safe and sanitary housing for their family. Had we not had the mortgage assistance, and then had we not been able to follow it right together with some tribal funds, I assume, to get them the water and sanitation, that family and other families in their same situation would never qualify for safe housing for their families.
I think I have a message on my email from Jody that the same issue you're talking about, that we're talking about here, and I'll respond to your inquiry sometime today.
Okay. Charlie, any more questions for Charlie?
Question, but I don't know if it'd be for here or if it'd be for E&S, because Anna came in and talked to me in the room for the meetings about y'all's meeting y'all had yesterday, and she briefly touched on maybe having a cap on any kind of help the person can get from us, a ceiling. So do we need to talk to, because we was talking about housing, so do I need to address this in here and E&S part?
Let's wait till David Sutherland comes up, and that's to do with housing. Let's do that. We'll just ask it. Anything else, Charlie? Billy?
That's it.
Okay, thank you. You guys done a good job. I don't, when you don't have a lot of calls, that means you're really getting out there and doing something. Thank you. Mr. Sutherland.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Just first thing is, you got the report. I did get some public disclosures after I submitted the report, so I'm going to read those in this setting, and then I'll attach them to next month's report also. For rehab, a lady named Mary Lou Van, who's the sister of Joyce Green, who is employed for rehab. Patricia Davis, also rehab. She's a sister of George Hubbard, who works for rehab department. And then under emergency assistance, Mary Lou Van, who's same Mary Lou Van I just mentioned, sister of Joyce Green, and Alice Ritchie, who is the aunt of Tanya Lockwood, who's a housing rehab employee. Those are the disclosures, and I'll attach it to the report next month.
So there'd be 4 of them?
Actually, 3 families. One's getting the rehab and getting some emergency assistance also.
Okay.
I just want to let you know the FEMA trailers, we're on track to get a dozen. Once those are all tested and cleared, we have received 3, and those are set. And folks, I think have moved into them. I can't swear to that, but those are on site. I just wanted to mention the Southern Plains Indian Housing Association meeting is, I believe it's November 12th and 13th in San Antonio. I don't know if you all have been given an agenda yet. The agenda just...
Yeah, we have.
Okay, I didn't know if Marvin had been sending those or what. The National American Indian Housing Council Legal Conference is December 7th and 8th, or right around in there, 7th through the 9th. It's in Las Vegas. I haven't seen an agenda, but once we get one, we'll forward one over. There might be something on there you all are interested in. As the chief mentioned last night, the reauthorization of NAHASDA has passed both the House and the Senate, and waiting on the President's signature. It hasn't been signed yet, but that's been something that's been in the works for a good 3 years that I can remember going to meetings and working on some of the changes in the language. But that's good. It was for 5 years, so the next time it's up for reauthorization is in 2013. So that's a good thing. That's all I was going to mention this morning. If anyone has any questions.
David, I just want to make a comment about our housing additions. I've just went by and observed some of those, and they look, I don't know, 100% better.
Good.
Mowing, the weed eating around some of our houses, and I realize, that I think I made a statement last time, I think we need to set an example from our maintenance people that take care of those places over there. So I have seen improvement on the thing. So apparently, you put the word out that we'd like for that stuff to be up to par. So I think it's taking effect. So I think everybody, this makes people feel better about where they live.
Yeah, you mentioned the gate there at J. We're looking at that whole fence across there, that back side, because it's grown up. I don't know, it's probably been there ever since the project was built. And
the other thing, one other thing, and I'll let other people ask questions if they have any, but we discussed a gate or something to go through the clinic over there, and I was wondering, have you decided yes or no about that?
Well, we're actually looking at that whole fence.
Oh, I see. So it won't even be okay.
Either take the fence down completely or put a new fence up with a gate in it or something of that nature. But it's pretty grown up through there.
Yeah, no, that's good. Any more questions for David Sutherland?
About the camp you all discussed yesterday?
Just some background. I'm trying to remember how long, probably 3 or 4 months we first been discussing this. No? Well, yeah, this is not a new issue. It's been something that's been ongoing for a couple of years. We've been meeting more recently on it. And I think the discussion is, is there a need to put a cap on what someone gets? Obviously, if someone gets a mutual help home and it's paid off, they probably should never be eligible for another home through the housing program. They've been served. There's other folks that haven't been served. So that's the discussion, and I don't think we're even close to having a recommendation of any kind. Putting a cap on something that creates some problems. Somebody's going to have to monitor it, for one thing, and that's a tough ordeal in itself. But right now there hasn't. We're not close to a decision on that as far as recommending anything to the administration. We did discuss one of the issues that's kind of driving this is the whole MAP issue and the using the water and sanitation funds with that. And I think Billy and Charlie were correct. I think they'd like to be able to see that done if it's possible. Obviously, I think it probably is. But as far as a cap, I don't think nothing's been decided on that one way or the other.
If it goes any further, would you please come back and tell us next month and report on that? Because I'm curious about what numbers was batted around.
Sure.
And where that's headed. Putting a cap on what we can do for our citizens. I think the council would like to know.
Yeah, I had Ms. Jordan, and then get back to Ms.
Well, I have just a couple of questions, David, on this cap before we move on. Are we talking a total cap for all services for any one individual from the tribe, or a total cap within a department?
I think the cap is the housing services. I would probably venture to say through NAHASDA. That'd be the main deal. And I think it primarily pertains to home ownership. if someone loses a home for whatever reason, and they need some rental assistance, or they need to move into a place to live, low-rent apartment or something, I don't think we're talking about that. It's more of the, they get a map home. Well, should we go back in and put $30,000 more into it in 10 years when it's the useful life, or the tribe has no further lien in it or no other interest in it at that point? Should they be eligible for a $30,000 rehab? Things like that. Those are the type of issues I think we're looking at.
Will you keep us updated as those talks
Yes.
progress?
Yes, we will.
And then the other question that I have is there a chance we might get more of the FEMA trailers?
I'm not sure we're going to ever get the other 9, but I don't know. If there's a chance, I'm not aware of it. I can try to check and let you know, because Todd Inlow is kind of the contact on that, and if he's gotten any other notification from HUD or FEMA about if there's any more eligible, I don't know. But I can check on that.
Because I know, and maybe you're going to address it, there's a real need for a few of those trailers, just a real need right away. With winter coming on, we have some people that are in need of them. And I was just of the hopes that maybe we'd get more than 3.
Well, I just hope we get these other 9 just pretty soon.
So we were going to get a total of 12.
We'll get a total of 12. We put in for more than that originally, but the way they did it, they decided they were going to keep so many of them. I'm sure they picked out the best ones and kept those.
I thought that you had gotten some through the housing authority. So that never was complete. We never were able to get that done.
No.
Because I knew at one time they had said something about maybe 30 of them. But that was back.
I can't remember if we put in for, when I say the tribe put in for 20 or 25 and got 12.
Thank you. Mr. Baker.
Yeah, and we have one lady who was approved on the first round that we thought was going to get one, and we destroyed her house, and she's sitting there in a camper waiting for hers to come, and hers wasn't one of the 3 that showed up.
Well, it was, when this first was done, it was like we're making arrangements to go get them, and then
I know.
they put a hold on it to do this testing. And here we are, at least 3 months later.
6.
We've got, and we've got 3.
Yeah, but winter's coming on, and we've got one lady living in a camper. We tore her house down, which it needed to be torn down, don't get me wrong, but boy.
I understand what you're saying.
And then kind of was alluding to another lady that moved back here from Alaska to her mother's home, and only to find it burnt to the ground, and she's been living in a tent for the last 3 months. And an elderly one. And so if there was anyway. But anyway, I would caution, anytime you say there's a cap, no more, under any circumstances, you're setting us up for bad problems. Nobody knows better than you that on the mutual help, if there wasn't MEPA or whatever, how many times have they come back and it was either we put the roof on it or it rotted to the ground? And should we be cautious about 10 years later doing a $30,000 remodel? Of course we should be. But I would sure be reluctant to say no more never, because all of a sudden you get the 78-year-old woman that was only 48, and she's lost her husband, lost her income, still got the house, but just needs a roof to keep it rotting down around her ears. And
well, I think everyone that I've spoken to, or the discussion has always been health and safety concerns.
yes.
So those are always going to be at the forefront.
And you say if you've already had one, but things happen. Spouses die and things change, and
You might have to let one go back even though the payments aren't that high, and then get back on your feet, or divorces, or yada, yada, yada. You know all those situations. But I just be real cautious about just a total hard and fast cap and the down payment, that's it, or anything like that.
We'll certainly report back.
Thornton, please.
Mr. Clayton, on this cap, I've got a couple of questions, but not all on the cap. Sometimes when people pay their house off and they get older, as Bill John says, and some of them start to be handicapped, and it's getting where it costs quite a bit to go back in and handicap a house, and that's bathrooms and whatever, you know, and ramps and that type of thing. Would this not cover that, or?
At the present, if like a mutual help house pays off, they are eligible for rehab.
Okay, that seems good. Completely different question, but it has to do with rehab or whatever. There's a person over in my district that needs a rehab bed. He needs a rehab, a replacement, or a trailer or something. And he's living on land and trust that's owned by two different people. And his father built that house on that land and trust, and they're kinfolks to the people that own it. And what they're doing is trying to divide the land. That's what our realty is trying to do, and they don't know which one he's going to live on. So what my question would be, if they'll give him a lease, which they will, why couldn't both of them sign a lease and they go on with it, instead of having to wait until the property's divided?
I'm not sure why that wouldn't work either. I'll get with you after.
Okay.
Get a name.
Yep.
And maybe I'll check into it for you.
Okay.
Maybe there's
I think you
something
checked into it already, but I don't think y'all's got an answer yet.
I remember one through the email, they were discussing
Yeah.
something very similar,
Mm-hmm.
but not once in that email do I remember anything about a lease even.
Well, I know one of them, they thought this lady had the lease on it, which she does, owns half of it. But, and she signed it. But then they've come back and said, well, it's supposed to be divided and we gotta wait till they do. So why couldn't both of them sign it and just go?
I'll sure check into it. But just, once you get to looking into those things, and Tanya can tell you, because she's looked at them.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I got a guy that works for me, we don't own the house, but his problem is, and this is kind of a weird deal, he bought this house, he's trying to sell it. He's had it for several years, he's lived in it, and he bought it from an individual who had bought it through FHA. And when they read the abstract this time, it's owned by the state of Oklahoma. It was never taken, it's still owned by the state, even though it's passed a couple of times. State wants their money.
Yeah, this doesn't fall, I don't believe, in that category.
No, but I'll get with you after, get a name so I can call them.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. You have any more questions, Mr. Thornton?
No, but
Counselor Snell has some comments or questions.
There on that property up where Leach, Buck Smith passed away, one of the daughters bought the house, been 2 or 3 months ago. She can't get no title and abstract, deed and abstract. How does she go about getting that?
I'm going to check on that. You mentioned that last night or yesterday or sometime. I don't know if it's restricted or if it's a fee simple. I'm just not sure about that. I need to check into that and see. If it's the way this works, if it's restricted land or tribal land, we give what's called a certificate of release and satisfaction, which means they don't owe us anymore. And then they can take that out to the real estate to convert that into a deed.
I don't think it's restricted. I think, he probably deeded an acre or whatever.
I've got them checking on it. I'll let you know.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions for Mr. Sullivan?
Yeah, I do.
Mr. Baker?
David, explain one more time, and it's been explained before, and, but maybe some of the folks here haven't, and I'm not sure that I remember how it worked, but some of the homes, they could get the title to and go back into trust, and some of them they couldn't. How did that work? On mutual helps?
I may defer to Tana.
Yeah, because I just caught I'm sorry.
Sure, yes.
What was it?
Some of the way the deeding was done or something, some of the folks were eligible to, when they paid off their mutual help, to take it back into trust.
The only time, I think what he's talking about is those certificates
Okay, yeah.
on the trust land.
Mhm.
Instead of giving it, there were, what, about 100 and some houses
More like 75. maybe?
that were built on tribal-owned trust land. So instead, when they pay off their homes, we can't give them, or you all couldn't give them a deed. So we gave them a certificate that says they have fulfilled the requirements of our agreement with them. They take that out to Linda Donaldson's office, and Linda gives them it's not really, it is a deed, but it's not really a deed. It's a different kind of instrument that occasionally she will ask this body to approve the release of. Now, they can still, I think, that land is still held, can be held in trust for the benefit of that individual, family, or Indian. Because any other property that had a mutual help house built on it was fee simple. And it can't go back into trust, or it can't go back into...
Even though it was in trust when they was given.
Well, it really wasn't in trust, it was in
Restricted. Gotcha.
restrictive status. And we tried, if you'll recall, David, they tried to pass the amendments to the 1947 Act, and that would have allowed those families to do a real short version of putting land back into restrictive status. It would have also reduced the blood quantum so that they could have kept that house in restrictive status as it moved from one generation to the next. And I think I asked a question about that maybe yesterday, about was that a completely dead issue, because that's the best way that we can help our people get those 1 acre tracts back into restrictive status, is asking our Washington office to try to revive that legislation after the first of the year when we have a new group in Washington.
Okay.
I believe that's what he's talking
Your
about.
memory's better than me, but yeah, I remember that you mentioned
Yeah.
that.
I agree. I think the 47 Act needs to be revised up again after the new administration comes in, because if you go below a half now, you're just strictly out of luck. So I
It
think
would have
needs to be
reduced the
revised.
blood quantum
Yeah, sure.
substantially and allowed them to leave those homes as they go down in the generations and you have less blood. The home could have still been kept in restrictive status.
Sure. Any more questions for Mr. Sullivan? Thank you, David. Thank you. I want to give an opportunity for this committee to ask any questions of the Commerce Department. I see Anna and Shay are here today, but if there's any questions for those two people in there, I'd be glad to entertain those now. Seeing none, we'll move on. Thank you for coming, Anna and Shay. Go into old business, and I don't really see any other than what we talked about last month about the need for rural water districts, and I think they pretty much give us a report in this report as to what's going on, but I would like for Charlie and Billy to keep abreast of those two, or that one project out here on District 8. So I think last time Charlie told us they were applying for a $100,000 grant, and they were looking at some way to match that grant money. So we'll move on past that unless there's any questions about that old business. Seeing none, we'll move to new business, and seeing no new business, we'll go on to announcements. Is there any announcements in here today that the committee would like to present?
Everybody invited Thursday night to kind of nice hamburger feed at home.
Thursday night. Seeing no more announcements, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Moved and second, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thanks for coming.